Ever wonder why you're stuck in the grind, working endless hours? The truth might be lurking in your closet, your garage, or that mounting credit card bill. Society screams that money buys happiness, but what if chasing it is chaining you to a life you don't love? Over a century ago, Henry David Thoreau dropped a game changer. The simpler your pleasures, the freer you are. Buckle up, because this idea could flip your entire life, how you work, live, and find joy, upside down. Picture your daily slog. You drag yourself out of bed, battle traffic, or cram into a packed train. Clock 8+ hours at a job that might not even spark joy, then collapse at home only to do it all again tomorrow. Why? To keep up with the bills. But let's get real. What bills? That shiny new car you had to have, the designer clothes piling up, the latest smartphone, the overpriced apartment in a trendy zip code, or those weekend splurges at fancy restaurants. Every item on that list isn't just money. It's your life, cashed out in hours of sweat and stress. You're trading your freedom, your energy, your time for stuff. And the more stuff you own, the harder you work to maintain, repair, or replace it. It's a hamster wheel with no finish line. Let's break it down with some quick math to make it sting. That $5 daily coffee you grab on your way to work. No biggie, right? Wrong. That's $100 a month, 20 work days. In a year, you're out $200. Over a decade, a jaw-dropping $12,000 just for coffee you could brew at home for pennies. Now toss in daily takeout lunches, streaming subscriptions you barely touch, that pricey gym membership you use twice a month, and those impulse buys collecting dust. Each purchase feels small, but together they're shackles you didn't even see being forged. You're not working to live. You're slaving to sustain a lifestyle advertisers convinced you is essential. But here's the real gut punch. It's not just your wallet taking a hit. It's your future. Every dollar frittered away on unnecessary stuff is a dollar you can't invest in your freedom. That's money that could have let you switch to a job you love, take a year off to chase your dreams, or build a safety net for life's curveballs. Instead, it's tied up in things that lose value the second you buy them, fleeting experiences and trinkets that don't actually make you happier. Ready to break free? It starts with rethinking what you really need to live a life that's truly yours. The saddest thing is seeing people trapped in jobs they hate because they can't leave. They've built such an expensive life that they've become hostages to their paycheck at the end of the month. The boss knows this. The bank knows this. Everyone knows it except the person themselves who created their own prison, buying things they didn't even need to impress people who don't even care. And meanwhile, life goes by. The children grow up without your presence. Dreams are stored away for a future that may never come. Health deteriorates from stress. All this to maintain a standard of living that society told you that you should have. It was exactly against this prison that a man named Henry David Thoreau rebelled more than 150 years ago. In 1845, Thoreau built a simple cabin on the shores of a lake called Walden and went to live there alone for 2 years. He wasn't a hermit, running away from society, but a thinker conducting an experiment. He wanted to discover what really mattered in life. Far from all the distractions and social pressures, Thoreau's cabin measured only 10 feet by 15 feet. It cost $28 to build. He planted beans, fished in the lake, walked through the forest, read, wrote, and received visits from friends. His food was basic but nutritious. He had practically nothing that most people consider essential, but he had something much more valuable: time. Time to think, to observe nature, to simply exist without hurry. During this period at Walden, Thoreau realized that most people complicated life unnecessarily. They worked too much to buy things they didn't need, creating problems that wouldn't exist if they lived more simply. He calculated that he needed to work only 6 weeks a year to cover all his basic needs. The rest of the time was completely his, while his neighbors in the city worked all year long, worried about debts and appearances. Thoreau was free. Free to explore ideas, free to contemplate nature, free to live according to his own values. Thoreau wrote that true wealth isn't in having many things, but in having few needs. If you need little to be happy, any simple job gives you enough. You have options. You have power of choice. But if you need a lot, you're at the mercy of whoever can pay you well, even if that means selling your soul in a miserable job. Thoreau wasn't preaching poverty. He was showing that there's a huge difference between being poor and living with simplicity by choice. The poor person has no options. The person who chooses simplicity has all the options in the world because they're not tied down by artificial needs. The phrase that gives this video its title perfectly sums up his philosophy. The cheaper your pleasures are, the freer you will be. If your happiness depends on expensive things, you'll be a slave to money forever. But if you learn to find pleasure in the simple and cheap things in life, you free yourself. No one can take away from you the pleasure of watching a sunset. No one can charge you for the sound of rain. No one can split into 12 installments the smell of an old book. So, let's talk about these simple pleasures that cost nothing, or almost nothing. When was the last time you simply walked in a park and noticed the trees, the insects, the sunlight coming through the leaves? When was the last time you sat in a square to watch people passing by and imagine their stories? Walking is one of the most underrated pleasures that exist. It doesn't need to be a trail on a distant mountain. It can be in your own neighborhood, discovering streets you've never explored, noticing details you've never paid attention to. Walking calms the mind, exercises the body, connects you with the place where you live, and it costs absolutely nothing. Thoreau walked at least 4 hours every day, and said these walks were essential for his physical and mental health. If you have a public library near you, you have access to thousands of books without paying a cent. Novels that transport you to other worlds, biographies that inspire you, philosophy books that expand your mind, poetry that touches your soul. All the knowledge and all the imagination of humanity are available for free. And even if you prefer to have your own books, used bookstores sell true treasures for ridiculous prices. A used book can cost less than a coffee at a trendy coffee shop, but it'll stay with you forever. Deep conversations with friends are another treasure that costs nothing. Not those superficial conversations about work and complaints, but real conversations about dreams, fears, ideas, memories, philosophy, about the meaning of life. These conversations happen best in simple settings: a walk in the park, coffee at home, a park bench. The best conversations happen when the scenery disappears, and all that's left are two people sharing honest thoughts. Learning something new can be completely free nowadays. The internet is full of courses, tutorials, documentaries, lectures. You can learn to play an instrument, speak a new language, cook dishes from any country, fix things, create things, all for free or for symbolic amounts. The pleasure of mastering a new skill is priceless. And paradoxically, the less you pay for this learning, the more you value it because you know it was your effort and dedication that made the difference. Meditation and mindfulness practices are powerful tools that cost nothing. Just sitting in silence for 10 minutes paying attention to your breathing can transform your entire day. It reduces anxiety, improves focus, increases well-being. There are free apps that guide you through the first sessions, but after that you don't even need them. Volunteering offers a deep satisfaction that buying never provides. Helping other people, contributing to your community, making a difference in someone's life. It can be at animal shelters, nursing homes, daycare centers, social projects, beach and park cleanups. You donate your time and receive in return a sense of purpose and connection that no object can give. Birdwatching has become a popular hobby because it combines nature, learning, and discovery at no cost. Download a free identification app. Grab a notebook to write down your discoveries and start paying attention to the birds around you. You'll be surprised by the diversity of species, even in urban environments. Writing in a journal is free therapy. Putting thoughts on paper helps process emotions, solve problems, know yourself. It doesn't need to be anything elaborate or literary, just you talking honestly with yourself about what you're feeling, thinking, living. Do a memory exercise. Now think of 3 moments when you felt truly happy, fully satisfied, at peace. Now answer honestly. How many of those moments involve spending a lot of money? Most people discover that their most precious memories are of simple moments. A special conversation with someone dear, a day at the beach, uncontrollable laughter over something silly, the smell of grandma's food, a sincere hug. They're almost never about expensive things they bought. Yet we continue spending fortunes chasing a happiness that's not for sale. But why do we do this? Why do we spend so much money on things that don't really make us happy? The answer lies in the trap of social status. From a young age, we're taught that our worth as a person is tied to what we own. Advertisements hammer this message every day. Social media amplifies this to the extreme, transforming life into a constant competition of who has more, who travels to more exotic places, who wears more expensive clothes, who eats at more sophisticated restaurants. The problem is that this pursuit of status through consumption is a bottomless pit. There will always be someone with a better car than yours. There will always be someone with a bigger house, with more expensive clothes, with more impressive trips. You can spend everything you have trying to impress others and it will never be enough. It's a race that has no finish line. And worse, you're running in the wrong direction. The people you're trying to impress don't really care about you. They're too busy trying to impress other people. Think about brand name clothes. A basic t-shirt can cost $20 at any store or $200 if it has a famous logo printed on it. It's the same t-shirt, the same fabric, the same function, but you pay 10 times more just for the status of having that brand. And for what? So that people on the street look and think well of you for 2 seconds. These people don't know who you are. They don't know your character, your values, your achievements. Is it worth selling hours of your life to buy the superficial approval of strangers? Cars are another classic example. An economy car takes you from point A to point B exactly like a luxury car. Both face the same traffic jams, stop at the same traffic lights, but one costs 5 times more than the other. What is this price difference buy exactly? Status. The illusion that you're more successful, more important, and you'll work years more of your life to pay for this illusion. The big truth that no one wants to admit is that we seek status because we have insecurity. We think we're not good enough the way we are. So, we try to compensate with external things. But this never works because insecurity is inside, not outside. You can buy all the luxury brands in the world and still feel empty inside. The only way to really free yourself from this trap is to stop seeking external validation. Understand that you're worth what you are, not what you have. When you free yourself from the need to impress others, something magical happens. Suddenly, you don't need that expensive car anymore. You can buy a simple car that works well and save a fortune. You don't need those brand name clothes anymore. You can wear comfortable and practical clothes that cost a fraction of the price. Every time you choose not to spend to impress, you're buying back a piece of your freedom. And then you start making choices based on what really matters to you, not on what others will think. This is the first big difference between being a prisoner of consumerism and being free. Understanding the difference between real need and artificially created desire. Everyone needs housing, but do you need a huge apartment with 4 bedrooms if you live alone? Everyone needs transportation, but do you need a car if you live close to work and can walk? Everyone needs food, but do you need to eat out every day? Most of what we think we need are actually desires created by advertising and social pressure. Companies spend billions on advertising because they know exactly how to create artificial desires. They hire psychologists to understand your insecurities and then sell products promising to solve these insecurities. You feel ugly? Buy this expensive cream. You feel like a failure? Buy this luxury car. They transform vague desires into urgent needs. A powerful way to distinguish need from desire is to ask simple questions before each purchase. First, do I need this or just want it? Second, will this purchase improve my life significantly or just give me momentary satisfaction? Third, how long do I need to work to pay for this? Is it worth trading those hours of my life for this object? These simple questions can prevent countless impulse purchases. When you really need to buy something, that's when it makes sense to invest in quality. A good pair of shoes that last years is a better purchase than 5 cheap pairs that wear out quickly. Quality pans that last decades are more economical than cheap pans you need to replace every year. The difference is that these purchases aren't made for status or impulse, but because you identified a real need and chose the best long-term solution. The key is in being honest with yourself about what really improves your life versus what only feeds your ego or fills an emotional void temporarily. Smart purchases are those that solve real problems, that last, that add true value to your daily life. Learning to differentiate the two is fundamental to escaping the prison of consumerism. And when you start making only smart and necessary purchases, you discover you need much less than you imagined. This is the path to minimalism, which isn't about living without anything or in constant deprivation, but about consciously choosing what really matters and eliminating excess. Minimalism is freedom disguised as simplicity. The less you own, the less owns you. Think about your home for a moment. How many things do you have stored that you haven't used in months or years? How many clothes in the closet that you never wear? How many decorative objects gathering dust? How many devices and gadgets that seemed useful but are forgotten in drawers? Each of these items was bought with money you worked to earn. They represent hours of your life transformed into objects that now only take up space and create clutter. Minimalism proposes that you keep only what you really use, love, or need. And as you eliminate excess, something interesting happens. Your home stays organized with much less effort. You spend less time cleaning, tidying, looking for things. Your mind becomes clearer because there's less visual clutter around you. And mainly, you spend much less money because you develop immunity against unnecessary purchases. Reducing possessions also gives you flexibility and freedom. Want to move to a different city? It's much easier when you don't have a house stuffed with furniture and junk. Want to switch jobs to something that pays less but makes you happier? You can do that when your expenses are low, because you don't need much. Excessive possessions are anchors that keep you in place. Simplicity is wings that let you fly. Starting to simplify doesn't need to be radical. You can start small. Choose a drawer, a closet, a room. Take everything out and separate into 3 piles. things you use regularly, things that have real sentimental value, and everything else. The rest can be sold, donated, or discarded. Each item that leaves your house is one less weight, one more space to breathe. But there's an aspect of possessions we rarely consider: the hidden cost of expensive things. When you buy something expensive, the price tag is just the beginning. A luxury car doesn't just cost the price of the car. It costs much more: expensive insurance, higher registration fees, maintenance at dealerships that charge a fortune, extremely expensive original parts. In the end, that car can cost double or triple the purchase price over a few years. A big house has the same problem multiplied. You don't just pay the higher price or rent. You pay more property tax, more electricity bills because you have more rooms to light, more water because you have more bathrooms. You pay more time cleaning all those rooms. You need more furniture to fill the spaces. Each additional square foot is a constant cost that never stops sucking your money and your energy. Expensive objects also bring constant worry. That very expensive watch makes you anxious every time you leave home. That designer bag stays stored because you're afraid to damage it. You're paying dearly for things that cause you stress instead of pleasure. Possessions should make your life easier, not complicated. Compare this with simpler alternatives. An economy car costs less to buy, less to insure, less to maintain. If it gets hit, it's not a tragedy. A smaller apartment costs less in everything: rent, bills, cleaning, furniture. More money is left at the end of the month and more time to live instead of taking care of empty spaces. And this brings us to a crucial point. Time is the true luxury. Money you can earn again, but time that's passed never comes back. Every hour you work is an hour of your life that you're trading for money, and then you take that money and trade it for things. At the end of the day, you're trading pieces of your life for objects. Let's do simple math. Let's say you earn $30 an hour worked. You're thinking about buying a brand name sneaker that costs $600. Divide $600 by 30. That's 20 hours of work. That means almost 3 full days of your life dedicated exclusively to paying for those sneakers. Now look at those sneakers again. Do they still seem worth 3 days of your life? Do this calculation with everything you want to buy. That new $3,000 phone, a 100 hours of work, more than 2 weeks of your life. When you see the real price in terms of lifetime, many purchases suddenly seem like terrible deals. The most ironic thing is that people work so much to buy things that they barely have time to use or enjoy. You work months to pay for that new car, and then spend 2 hours a day inside it, stressed in traffic. You work to pay for that big house and arrive there so tired you just want to sleep. It's a life spent working to pay for small moments of rest that are never enough. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine you choose to live more simply. You live in a smaller, cheaper place. You have a simple car, or don't have a car at all. You buy only what's necessary. With this, you need much less money per month. And needing less money, you can work fewer hours. Or you can save much faster and retire years earlier. Or you can choose a job that pays less, but that you really enjoy doing. Suddenly you have options. You have time. This is the true wealth that Thoreau discovered at Walden. He worked 6 weeks a year and had 46 weeks of free time. Most people today work 48 weeks a year and have only 4 weeks of vacation. Who's richer? The guy with the big house and imported car who spends 50 hours a week at the office, or the guy who lives simply and has time to do whatever he wants almost all year long? And there's a psychological trick that makes everything even more complicated. Our brain is programmed to get used to good things very quickly. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Any new pleasure, especially material ones, loses its charm after a short time. You buy that dream new car, and for the first few weeks you're on cloud 9. But a month passes and that car is just your car. The initial pleasure completely disappears. This happens with everything. New smartphone, new clothes, new house, new furniture. At first there's that wave of satisfaction, but it passes quickly. The problem is that to feel that pleasure again, you need to buy something else new. It's a hamster wheel that never takes you anywhere. You're always chasing that peak of satisfaction that lasts very little time. Now compare with simple pleasures. Do you get tired of watching the sunset? No, each one is different. Each one has its own beauty. Do you get bored of walking in nature? No, because nature is always changing with the seasons, the weather, the light. Do you get tired of good conversations with true friends? No, because people aren't objects. Each encounter is unique. Simple and cheap pleasures have something that expensive pleasures don't have. Durability. The difference is that you can reactivate this simple pleasure anytime for free just by choosing to pay attention again. You don't need to buy a new sunset. It's already there waiting for you to notice. But if you want to reactivate the pleasure of having new things, you need to spend money again. One is free and sustainable. The other is expensive and addictive. But there's one type of pleasure that not only doesn't lose value, but actually increases. The pleasure of creation. And curiously, this type of pleasure flourishes better in simplicity. When you have unlimited resources, you can buy ready-made solutions for everything. But when you have limited resources, you need to create your own solutions. And that's when creativity explodes. Think about the great artists, writers, inventors in history. Many of them created their best works precisely in the periods when they had fewer resources. Not despite the limitation, but because of it. Limitation forces you to be creative. When you can't just buy what you need to invent, adapt, improvise. And that's incredibly satisfying. When you yourself create or fix something, you have a sense of accomplishment that no purchase can give. Boredom is also underestimated. We're so afraid of it that we fill every second with stimuli, social media, series, games, music, news. But it's precisely in moments of boredom that the best ideas arise. It's in boredom that you finally hear your own thoughts. It's in boredom that creativity finds space to grow. But let's return to the question of human relationships, because at the end of the day, they're what really matters. You can have everything and be miserable if you don't have good relationships. You can have little and be happy if you're surrounded by people who really care about you. And here's the good news. Genuine relationships don't cost money. Think about your important relationships. Do they improve when you spend money? Does your friendship with someone get stronger because you went to an expensive restaurant? No, it gets stronger when you have honest conversations. When you laugh together, when one supports the other in difficult moments. All this can happen on a park bench or in a simple kitchen. The setting doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of the connection between people. But consumer society tries to turn even relationships into opportunities to spend money. Want to impress someone? Take them to an expensive restaurant. Want to show you love someone? Buy an expensive gift. And so relationships become contaminated by consumption. The antidote for this is to go back to basics. Propose cheap or free activities and see who's really interested in your company versus who's only interested in what you can offer materially. Cooking together at home, playing board games, walking and talking, watching the sunset together, having a picnic in the park. These simple activities not only save money, but also reveal the true nature of your relationships. If someone only wants to be with you when you're spending money, that person isn't your real friend. But if someone is willing to spend an entire afternoon talking with you in a park, sharing a cheap snack, laughing at silly things, that person values your company. True relationships reveal themselves in simplicity, not in luxury. So invest your time in cultivating genuine relationships. Call that friend you haven't talked to in a while. Set up a simple coffee with someone dear. Organize a dinner at home with important people. Be truly present in conversations without looking at your phone. Offer help when someone needs it. These things build deep and lasting bonds, and they cost nothing but attention and intention. But let's return to the practical question. How to apply all this in real life? Simplifying life and buying intelligently doesn't mean never buying anything or living in deprivation. It means buying consciously only what's necessary and organizing your finances so they work in your favor. First step, identify your real needs. Make an honest list of what you really need to live well. Adequate housing, nutritious food, sufficient clothes, functional transportation. Be specific but realistic. Second step, for each need, find the simplest and most efficient solution that fits your budget. Not the most expensive to impress others, nor the cheapest that will break soon. The one that offers the best cost-benefit in the long term. Research well before buying. Don't buy on impulse. Third step, organize your finances clearly. Know exactly how much you earn and how much you spend. Write down all expenses for a month to understand your consumption pattern. You'll be surprised at how much money escapes in small daily purchases that seem insignificant, but accumulate. Fourth step, define conscious priorities. What do you really not give up? For some people, it's quality food. For others, it's books or courses. For others, it's having a quiet house. There's no universally right answer. There's what's important to you specifically, but be honest about it. Don't say something is a priority just because everyone says so. Discover your own priorities based on what really improves your life. Fifth step, eliminate or drastically reduce expenses that aren't real priorities. If you spend a lot on clothes, but that's not a true priority of yours, cut it. If you pay for an expensive gym but rarely go, cancel it and exercise at home or outdoors. If you have 3 streaming services but only use one, cancel the other 2. Each small expense you eliminate is a little more freedom you gain. Sixth step, learn to distinguish between real opportunity and marketing trick. Promotions, flash sales, huge discounts. All this is designed to create artificial urgency and make you buy on impulse. A simple rule. If you weren't planning to buy that before seeing the promotion, don't buy it. It's not an opportunity, it's a trap. The best discount is the 100% you save by not buying. Seventh step, develop practical skills that reduce your dependence on spending money. Learning to cook saves fortunes compared to eating out and is also healthier. Learning to fix basic things around the house avoids having to call professionals for small problems. Each skill is a tool of freedom. Eighth step, build an emergency fund before any other financial goal. Having the equivalent of 3 to 6 months of expenses saved gives you enormous security. You can face unexpected situations without despair. You can say no to a bad job because you have a safety cushion. This emergency fund is your freedom in the form of money. Ninth step, after the emergency fund, invest consistently, thinking long-term. It doesn't need to be a lot, but it needs to be regular. Even if it's $100 a month over the years, this grows and gives you future options. Each dollar invested is a step toward more freedom in the future. There's a guide that can help a lot in this process. An ebook that synthesizes all these principles in a practical and applicable way. It teaches you to identify real needs versus artificial desires, to make intelligent purchase choices that really add value, to organize your finances in a way that works for you, and to build a path toward financial freedom without deprivation or suffering. Buying with intelligence and purpose is radically different from buying on impulse or social pressure. It's understanding that each purchase is a choice about how you want to use your life's limited resources. It's building a solid financial life that gives you options instead of trapping you in obligations. It's possible to live well, very well, spending much less than you imagine. Don't wait for the perfect moment or ideal conditions. Start small if you need to, but start. Choose a free pleasure and dedicate time to it today. Imagine this. You lace up your shoes and wander for 30 minutes. No destination, just the rhythm of your steps and the world unfolding around you. You crack open that book you've been ignoring on your shelf, its pages brimming with ideas waiting to spark your mind. You sit down with someone you love for a raw, heart-to-heart talk that leaves you both feeling seen. You pause to watch the sky melt into hues of orange and purple at dusk. You whip up a simple, delicious meal that warms your soul. You carve out 10 minutes to meditate, letting your thoughts settle like dust after a storm. You pour your heart into a journal, capturing dreams and truths. Each of these small, nearly free acts is a bold step toward freedom. As you weave these simple pleasures into your life and cut out the clutter of unnecessary expenses, something magical happens. Your bank account stops bleeding out by month's end. Stress and anxiety loosen their grip. You find yourself with more time, more choices, stronger connections, bursts of creativity, and a quiet inner peace you didn't know was possible. This isn't just a theory. Henry David Thoreau lived it at Walden, and countless others around the globe prove it daily by embracing intentional simplicity. You don't need to escape to a cabin in the woods, unless that's your vibe. Just start choosing differently, one moment at a time, guided by the truth that the cheaper your pleasures, the freer you become. If this vision of a lighter, more meaningful life speaks to you, check out the first pinned comment for a special next step. It's for those ready to break free from the ordinary. And if this resonates, hit subscribe so we can keep this conversation going. I'll be waiting for you in the next video.